at unique companies doing really interesting things in the AI space, and particularly around virtual humans. So I'm going to let them really share with you what they're up to. I don't think we're going to have time for Q&A, but I'm really going to let them explain their worlds, and I think you're going to walk away very excited about everything. So let's just start with a speed round of who you are in the world. And keep it legal. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Komran Ponnambalam. I work at Cisco Outshift division. At Outshift, we look at what is new in terms of the technology that is coming out in terms of Horizon 3 out in 18 months, and look at what we can bring in and build products and services for our customers. I'm also teach on LinkedIn Learning on AI/ML space. I've been for 20 years working in the conversational AI side of things, conversational technology side of things.
Jake?
Jake Becker from Genies, which is an avatar technology company. I focus on how IP should be evolving their digital identity, their digital presence in this next era of the internet. IP ranging from the organizational level of brands to partners we've had with players associations for the NBA, the NFL, the MLB, music groups like Universal Music Group, Warner Music Groups, also at the individual level with thousands of celebrities looking at how can avatars, how can supporting technology help them, set them up for success in the future.
Joanna?
Hi, I'm Joanna Popper. I've worked at quite a few media and tech companies at the intersection of innovation and technology, including CAA, HP, NBC Universal, and Singularity University. And right now I'm advising companies, particularly on AI and spatial computing, media companies on that area, and then companies that are endemic to the space on how to work with media and technology companies. And so down a few courses.
Cool. I'm Jordan Cuddy. I'm EVP, Global Head of Experience, that's brand and consumer experience for Monks. I've been with Monks for about 8 years. I launched my first chatbot in 2015 at South by, famously or infamously for Ex Machina, when we put Alicia Vikander on Tinder and catfished a bunch of folks. You can't do that anymore. You gotta be a lot more transparent with these experiences, but largely I'm trying to bring a lot of the tools that these folks are making and making them commercially applicable for consumers.
Jessica?
All right, Laurie was right, this is a fun group. Jessica Berger, SVP of Innovation at Publicis Media. Publicis Media is a global media agency, but specifically here in the US, our team is focused on bringing the future to our clients, and that is very ambiguous, I understand. But truly what this just means is understanding consumer shifts, behavioral insights of what is happening on platforms and channels that we're using every day, or the ones that are already emerging. And so we're looking at a cross-spectrum of various different technologies, creative approaches, and strategic thinking of what we can actually do to bring that future, that media-driven future to our clients.
And Mr. Canning?
Thank you. John Canning, I work with AMD. I look after WAC, the software partners focused on the creators. With the premise that at the end of the day, it's about people that make stuff, and the rest of our jobs support that. So I love to work on all aspects of this, and excited to be yet the other hardware guy.
All right, now let's talk a little bit about how you guys specifically are looking at AI and then that category of virtual humans. So Jessica, I want to start with you because your purview is innovation really, right? So how are you guys looking at AI?
Well, AI is a large topic, but in context of today's panel, conversational AI is sort of a subset of that. We're trying to teach machines and technologies how to act in a human-like manner, which is incredibly complicated. And I don't think it has been done quite yet in the right way, or we haven't quite been there to the point where we actually feel like this is like a human, or this really feels like a human. So there's a lot of ways still to be done. And that's kind of where the innovation comes in, right? That we're looking at new partners, startup founders, anything that's emerging and new that can actually drive that interesting thinking around how do we get there. So that's how we took the approaches. And either with partners externally, looking who's out there, who's building those great tools, and who has the great thinking that we can then absorb and help bring to our clients, or work with internal resources, right? Like the experts in-house, the expertise that we already have, and the tools that we can build internally to sort of combine that and then bring something incredible to life.
And with that perspective then on virtual characters and conversational AI, where are you guys taking that?
That is very interesting. Every client has different needs, different approaches. I mean, we can look at this from conversational AI can be many different things and can come into life in many different form factors. Could be your traditional chatbot, right? You can think about it like that, like there's just a navigation bar and you type something in. Or it could be used in product discovery as you're in store, for example. You're just walking by a shelf and someone talks to you through a display. Or it could be bringing entire brand through IP to life in the form of a character, or maybe like a virtual human-like looking character. So many different approaches. There's not one thing that obviously fits everyone, so you really have to sit there and actually think it through. What makes sense, and what part of the journey are you, and where can you actually build something that is interesting, and where does it make sense?
And are clients asking you, what should we do about virtual characters? Are they coming at you with that specific question?
Yeah, so when we talk about conversational AI, the first reaction, by the way, is let's not build another chatbot. I think we're all educated at this point, know enough about this technology, or at least can understand what it should be like and not what it should not be like, right? So no one's asking for yet another chatbot type scenario, but we're all looking for how can we be more interactive, more engaging, and how can we bring a consumer journey to life in more interesting ways. And conversational AI, again, can come to life in many different forms. It doesn't need to be a character, it doesn't need to be a chat window, but like, where can we be there in that moment to create something interesting, and that's what they're asking for.
That's really cool. And Jordan, a spin-off of that, just because you're also looking at this for brands, and you also have that title of experience, head of experience. So tell us how you're bringing your clients into AI and virtual characters.
Yeah, I think, when you think about conversational AI, you're talking about a two-way conversation. So to your point, it's not a chatbot anymore. This is not sophisticated search. This is truly how can I interact with a conversational AI, however it's embodied, and get something of value for myself. Otherwise, why participate? So that comes down to the experience. So it really starts with what does the brand have to offer? So we're currently working with a large retailer with an e-com space, and part of their DNA is styling, which tends to happen one-to-one with physical human in store. They want to figure out how to scale that. And so we're currently working with them on their app to scale styling, personalized styling. So this changes the entire dynamic realistically when it comes to the customer experience, because you no longer go to the search bar and say floral bikini, black dress, etc. You say, I'm going to Tulum for 4 nights and I need this outfit and this outfit and this outfit, and it curates a completely different set of results. And so you really do have to start with what can I provide my consumer with value first.
And I know you and I were talking a little bit about the exciting news about this is the first-party data gathering that happens when a brand builds their own chat solution. Can you share a little bit?
Sure, and I think it's perfect timing when Meta launches their current personas that you can now talk to a stylist if you want. You can talk to a dietitian, a chef, you name it. It's super smart because behaviors will consistently change as this becomes more mainstream. I was on this panel last year. This has doubled in size.
Right.
People are very interested.
Half of them are virtual too.
I'm sure I can kind of see somebody waving out back there. There you go. But ultimately, if you don't figure out your own digital brand persona, give it a personality, give it a value add, you're going to lose out on major first-party data. And what you can do with that data is exponential. I could share one quick example, and this is not a virtual human example, but last year we did a campaign for Burger King. We launched a $1 million Whopper campaign, and they wanted to truly give consumers the opportunity to have the Whopper their way. It's their tagline. So it allowed consumers or folks to go online and add any edible toppings, and then we would render on the back end generated AI, high fidelity Whopper with your bespoke toppings on it, turn it into a jingle, used 11 Labs for voice, and ultimately spit out 3 million mini commercials. And that's cool, and that's a great return on investment. But what we're really talking about is return on innovation. When you look under the hood, what you're actually starting to understand is that you have a completely newer and richer data set that you can leverage. So for example, we know that in Arkansas, there's a trend that people want to put fried onions on their Whopper. Well, franchisees in Arkansas can put a Whopper on their menu and probably have a good estimated guess that they're going to turn some Whoppers into cash. So it's those sorts of things you need to think beyond the immediate return and think, okay, what do I want to know about the consumer?
I love that story, because now this starts to actually make business sense instead of following a trend. John, let me pop over to you as the other tech company and get your perspective, because I know you have that great title too of creators, developing creators and relationships. So where are you coming from all this?
Well, I think this whole area has been fascinating to watch sort of the growth. I mean, when we talk about a chatbot, that was a two-way conversation, depending on the sophistication of it, depending on what it was supposed to do, call centers. It's kind of interesting that I sometimes find a chatbot more interactive than a human in a call center, simply because you have a call center with a human reading off of a script. But if you look at that evolution, what has always been stymieing us is how to scale it and how to scale it naturally, right? I did a digital human years ago, and as a concierge, and they were like, that's great, but now we want to do it for mobile, and we want everybody to have an independent experience. And then you start going, well, where are you going to power that? And they're like, oh, we're just going to do it in the cloud. You run the numbers, you start asking the question of who's going to pay for that. Oh, it's just a service we're going to provide. These things have costs. Where you do it, how you scale it. A chatbot being a text entry, we're still doing that. Now we've layered natural language processing to the text part, to the interpretation, then back through that whole line. How are you doing it? Where are you doing it is, I think, the interesting part. And then what do people expect, right? A chatbot, it was easy to be anonymous. Even, sexless, if you will. Then how many of you went online and you saw, the pop-up over the side, and it was, hi, I'm Susie, how can I help you? And there was a picture of Susie. And suddenly you start thinking, that's a female. No, it's not. It's a chatbot. It just has a picture of Susie. Then if you take it to the next step and you actually do have a digital character, then you have to give it is it a particular gender? Is it a particular race? How does it speak? All of these things are adding that complexity to your expectations as consumers, as, what you expect, your inherent bias when you talk to somebody and how you're going to be responded to. And then, to your point, that first-person data is, we've said this for years. Those of you that are those veterans of the interactive TV wars and personalized advertising, you have to give something to get something. But giving something now is, what am I giving? What personal data am I giving up to get a personalized response, and where is that personal data going? So all of those things, I think, are stacking together now to define that next realism, but those are the issues across the board that we have to face.
And you're also looking at, how am I gonna, as a partner, as AMD, how am I gonna help power all of this, right?
I mean, other folks in the hardware business, right? Like, at the end of the day, it is that layer cake. Like I said, these folks want to make amazing, brilliant experiences. There's the layer cake of the software and the hardware and the systems to deliver it. And so I think, all of that has to work together. And that's, each layer of that has to bring it to then create the magic that a consumer goes, wow, this is amazing.
That's great. You're making me think of cake, and now I'm getting hungry. But so let me go over to you, Jake. And what Jake is doing, I just was excited about because my 15-year-old is just going to love this. So tell the audience what you're up to in this space, because it's so interesting.
Yeah, I think to start, why digital identity? Why avatars? Why are they important? Our view is that avatars are the new username. If you look at there's several, but if you look at three of the big internet or technology trends that are dictating what this next era of digital experiences, apps, games are going to look like, AI, mixed reality, and gaming, we see an avatar as being essential in the majority of these use cases, even more so the case at the nexus point of any of them, right? An AI agent isn't just going to be a chat box forever, but continue on a course of bringing that persona to life as some type of visual representation. In mixed reality, you're not going to be a floating username, but you need some type of 3D asset to represent you. And then in gaming, a little bit more straightforward, but a lot of games require some type of avatar or character-based system to represent the players, the other players, or any NPCs, non-player characters. So our vision with this is looking at avatars being this next standard form of identity. How do we power that identity layer? Allowing people to be any type of avatar that they want, wear or create any type of digital goods or props that they want, and then all of those assets be compatible with one another and then interoperable across any platform that you go into.
Yeah, and how many of you have kids that like have spent a lot of time on creating their avatar and want to be able to take it to the next place? Yeah, and you know I should have a drink or something because mine is 15 and I need some cocktails. Anyway, let me- yeah, there's teens. Anyway, Kuran, tell us about from the Cisco perspective because I know you're looking at everything, but also there's particular things that are interesting to you in this area.
So when we look at conversational AI, we look at from the point of technologies that needs to power this experience. So we are looking at generative AI, looking at image recognition, video processing. We're also looking a little bit about quantum and how it can help in these areas. There is again the other aspect of security and privacy, which are all key aspects that customers worry about. So how do those all factor into this experience? So we are looking at how this what technologies can power. So we got all the generative AI, we got AI agents coming in these days, and AI agents can revolutionize the experience that a conversational AI can provide. And one of the things, example we see is that if I have my microwave broken, typically I call the warranty company and they send over a person. Now you don't need that. In the future, you just have an AI agent engage you through the phone. You just point the phone at the microwave and it's going to tell you exactly, okay, do this here. And then it's going to correct you if you make a mistake. It can actually generate a video and send it to you saying, this is how I want you to do this. It can replay what you did and say, this is where you went wrong. So you can have a collaborative troubleshooting experience with the user, so you can get it instantly repaired unless you need a spare parts, right? So that's the kind of experience we're looking at.
I was just thinking, so now another thing is going to tell me I screwed up? It's like, oh great. But you are also saying to me, and you kind of mentioned this, that multimodal.
Yes.
And I know I say take a drink when you hear that word this week.
Yes.
So to tell us what you're looking at with that.
So the same example, right? The communication between the agent and the person can happen through text. It can send you text instructions. It can send you over a video. You can looking at the video you are showing through the phone, and then it is recognizing what's in the video. It can point to this is the part that needs to be changed, or this is what is broken. So you see the text, audio, and video all come together into one single communication. They are not separate anymore. So
That's cool. That's cool, and that's where the processor power and all that's going to come in. Now, Joanna, wrapping with you just on areas of interest, because you're sitting in Hollywood and you're working with tech companies and also Hollywood creators. So tell us what's important to you about all this.
Well, I've spent a lot of time working specifically in this area on what does this mean for some of the biggest brands in the world, and some of the biggest brands as the name, image, and likeness and voice of specific people. And so what are the risks to them and their brand, and then how can they use this to maximize and create opportunities for themselves. And so spend a lot of time working with top level talent and media companies and investing in companies that are helping them to protect their own image, protect their rights, and then also create a market for it, which will also in turn help them protect their rights. And so you've seen probably a lot of different news, different partnerships with big talent agencies and YouTube around talent protection. And what's interesting about this is that today a lot of these conversations are mainly for people whose entire identity, entire brand is and work is based on a huge brand that they've created for themselves. But where this is going, what the lessons are, and what we learn, and some of the legislation that's happening, will at some point affect all of us. And so you talked about how we'll all have our genie, or we'll all have our interoperable avatar, and so what somebody else comes and does with your avatar, your name, image, and likeness will potentially have impact on all of us. And so at the current moment, it's most relevant for talent.
Right, but it might be relevant for us.
It will be relevant for.
Next year, I'm sending my agent to do this panel.
Right, so then we get into this, the ethics question always comes up around this, and especially with all the stuff that just happened in Hollywood with the strikes, but also the discussion about watermarking and will AI protect us from AI? And there's lots of stuff on the floor this year at CES about cybersecurity and quantum security and all that. So I was just wondering, do you have any feelings about the ethics and security piece of this? Are you dealing with it, especially with big brands? You guys must be digging in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting approach, but one of our clients started an engagement with us. Typically go through maybe a strategy phase, get into creative concepting, and then we would get into sort of like, how are we going to technically build this and build a technical design document, etc. And then legal's kind of like the last stop. This client had us actually do a technical design sprint, identify every single piece of technology that we were going to use, get it completely brought through legal and all of that and signed off before we could even start to even think about what it could look like creatively. And I think we're going to see more approaches like that, because otherwise you're going to just spend a lot of money and then likely get denied at the last moment. So I'm seeing that approach potentially work a little bit more. But transparency, I think, is key, and it's what you were touching on earlier.
Yeah, because your data has to be clean,
Absolutely.
And I think that's
Well,
going
it
to be a
depends. I
dating
mean,
question. Is
some
your data
company,
clean?
I think some
Yeah.
companies, and certainly there's lots of people working with data that isn't clean. And so the question becomes, where is your legal team going to be on that? And what's your intention? Are you creating something that's going to be like final pixel, or that's going to be interacting with clients and customers, or are you using it for something that's internal where you don't, like maybe
Yeah, fair. As like an internal tooling, like automated workflow versus, both. Yeah, typically it's something that's consumer facing.
Yeah, but I mean, I think ideally, all the data would be clean, but it's certainly a lot of what many of us are building on top of probably isn't right now.
And I think that's if you look at this wave of working through this and working through, again, we go back to virtual characters and digital characters, is, you can say, hey, we're just doing this internally and it'll only be for internal, but that can shift, that potentially shifts. And again, you have to look at all the things that are contributing to this. If, looking at the basis of, say, starting with the digital character creation from a human scan, what are the rights around what that human participated in the scanning process? What did they sign into the contract? How are they being used? And I did this early on with a person to create specifically a digital character, and they had given permission, a set of permissions, and then somebody came back and said, well, actually, we kind of want to start using this and make some money. We had to go back and renegotiate that contract with that actor. And it was specifically, everybody was very much like, nope, gotta go back, we're gonna talk to the actor. And the great news is, that actor then was enabled to get more dollars. But the nature of the contracts, the nature of what people are signing up to do and lend into the process. And again, it's image, it's likeness, personality traits, mannerisms, all of those things we're starting to look at. And I think what is clean data is now, that is our next big frontier of digging into it. Legislation, because what is happening in the US is different than what's happening in Europe, what's happening in China, and other regions. And so that makes it very murky, because most of us are working in a very multinational sense.
And that's a great setup for the next question. And Jessica, jump in here, and you guys too, because you're working for multinationals, and also you're creating characters. So is there cultural nuances to this space? Like, do you sit down with a client and literally have to start from global at the beginning? Because you could create something for the US that's completely offensive somewhere else. I mean, I'm offending myself all the time. I just mean, how do you play in that space?
I mean, from that perspective, I would argue it's not that different from anything you probably do right now. If you are a multinational company and you have regional products or rollouts, launches, you're likely already thinking about it in a very similar way. obviously, as you're creating a virtual human or anything that's sort of regionally, with a regional approach, you want to make sure that it actually hits that market goal, right? Like, does it speak the language? Is there a dialect? Is the tonality right? The sensitivities, cultural relevance, all of the things that go into understanding a certain regional aspect. And I have one example, by the way. Before the holidays, I was playing around with one generative AI tool application, and it was sort of marketed as a fun entertainment project. It was really cute. But the point was 30 languages were advertised as this character will speak 30 languages. So I did the test, okay, let's start in English. And then I swapped within that conversation to my native language, which is German. That character continued to speak English, but with a German accent. So, I know, right? So, no, you can say that was fun and interesting, but obviously, as you're thinking about this as a real product or a real launch, you want to make sure, is this what you wanted? Or maybe that's the first thing you want to tweak and think about, okay, was this, what are you actually achieving here? So, regional, like with any other product or rollout, regional differences, cultural differences matter, absolutely matter.
Jake, do you think about that a lot as you're playing?
Definitely. I mean, I think we've thought about it from two sides of the fence. One, like the visual side, and then the behavioral side. So from a visual standpoint, we made investment years ago to say we don't want to dictate what style, size, shape, aesthetic someone should be represented by. Right? We want to democratize that creation process. We also know plenty of people will be building AI GC tools that will allow them to create anything by just typing in what they want. So a lot of the technology that our avatar tech team has built is within like this auto rigging, refitting sort of category that basically allows someone to create whatever they want, whatever avatar, size, shape, style you can imagine. You can imagine like a Barbie petite style avatar to a Hulk sized avatar, creating digital goods, creating props, and then all of it is compatible with one another. So it doesn't matter what avatar you were yesterday. If you bought a digital good, as to your point, I'm sure your daughter has drove you crazy with how much she has spent in Roblox. If you then change your avatar to a Hulk the next day, that asset will auto refit to what you want. So I think and we're working with different partners over in Asia and have handled different aesthetics through auto generation as well. From the behavioral standpoint, we're approaching it from a self-training standpoint. So you're able to self-train your avatar, whatever you want it to talk like, sound like, how you want it to act in different moments. So there's behavioral sensitivity where the actual facial and body animations will react to the sentiment of what you're saying, right? So if someone's saying something super sad versus super angry, you want that avatar to match. Otherwise, it's very strange, kind of similar to the language
So
scenario.
does that mean that you're bringing in people from all over the world and different cultures to do that training?
For the different regions that we're working in, from a training standpoint, yes. And then allowing people to self-train, and the whole time that you're playing games or engaging in different experiences with your avatar, your own avatar is getting stronger through that. So it's collecting up data based off everything that you say and everything that you do.
Great. I like it when people hold things I've said against me too. So Kumaran, what about you and Cisco? Like, is Cisco looking at the global impact of this? Do you have different clients that are more demanding in this space or more interested? Is it a regional thing?
Yes, there is a lot of demand from the customers to customize. So that's why a lot of the products that are more like user-facing products, they provide for a lot of customization, especially things like what kind of language to use, even with the language, what kind of things to say, not to say. And with AI coming into the picture, we are now dealing with also things like filters or guardrails around like what is profanity or what kind of terms are accepted and not accepted. Even if let's say the language is English, what is accepted socially is different between in the US versus somewhere in Asia versus Europe. So we got to provide and accommodate all these aspects. Plus there is also things like GDPR if you have to go to Europe or similar
The rules.
regulations that we have to comply to. So we got to provide for all of that. Because some customers want it to be a lot more open and aggressive, some customers are very conservative in what it is. So we got to provide these as features in our products.
Are you guys all basically just paying constant attention to what the different governments are doing? because you'll release something and then some new rule will come out, right? So how do you play within that? You just stay nimble, or are you adjusting all the time?
Higher
Hire experts.
I would actually argue, just adding on here on the trend, that we see a similar trend, right? Like one, you want to make sure your legal team, your internal legal team is up to speed as well. You can't do it all by yourself. You can't point out all the red flags. You have to have a team that is just as nimble or up to date as much as possible as you. But then also on the client side, we definitely see clients are just as us, like anyone else, be very, very much aware of what is happening and the necessity to actually look at those rules. Because we all know it's changing, it feels like it's changing by the minute, so you have to pay attention at the upfront. It can't be an afterthought. So definitely legal is, any business affairs matter, compliance, safety, privacy, right? Like all of those are definitely top of mind for us.
Yeah, I had someone tell me that they look at Europe's rules and China's rules so that they can be at the most extreme version of this. Is that anything that you guys have heard? And so they're ready?
Well, in California now, there's also
Rules.
cutting edge of, I think they have 17 new
Rules,
legislation.
right. And Joanna, maybe you could kick this last part off, which is just that Gen AI comes up all the time now for everyone. That's the first thing that freaks everyone out. But how is Gen AI impacting virtual characters? Is it helping, create really interesting looking, like what role is it playing? And I know you guys are all looking at it in different ways.
Yeah, I think there's a number of different ways it impacts. I mean, one that can be used to also create the look and feel of a new character is one example, and then the other would be in terms of a lot of virtual characters are then connected to ChatGPT or built on top, so you have that sort of drives the brain or the interaction. And then the voices also can come from there. The language can come from Gen AI. Like you mentioned 11 Labs as an example. So I think it's Gen AI is powering a lot of. It makes it a lot easier to do. And I know John did an example of something many years ago that today would have probably been a lot more simple with the tools we have today.
Yeah, I mean, and even before, if you look at generative AI, using GANs, training AI models, to create characters is, we did about 32 hours of performance capture to retarget human performance to digital characters. And if we were human processing that, we wouldn't have finished the project, right? But that's not necessarily generative AI. The use of what was commonly termed deepfake technology has really transformed the way creating younger character, age transforming and things like that. Not Gen AI, but different AI processes, basically automation tools, right? And there was an interesting look at it. A lot of what we're looking at is automation tools to help the process faster and iteration. Then you do have things like large language model where you're generating a conversation or creating an independent image. So these are, I think, the key for a lot of folks out there is to start looking at it as that Gen AI is just sort of a process, massive term, but there's a lot of nuances to the different tech that is starting to emerge or evolve that has been there, but again is getting more efficient or helping the automation process.
Did you want to jump on the Gen AI question at all? You can go.
So yes, I've been on Gen AI for the last year, so it's kind of starting to dominate pretty much every product line.
Oh, okay.
And whatever we are doing, there's all this Gen AI comes in and see how we can use Gen AI to make that better. So in Cisco itself, it doesn't matter what product it is, it's networking, security, observability. It's there everywhere, even in customer support and it's everything, everywhere you see that it's coming in. So there is the technology side of it, and there's the use case side of it, and there's of course all the constraints or guardrail side of it as to are they safe to use and stuff like that. So we kind of swirling around these things. Yes.
It's cool. Well, we have a few minutes left. I'd love to just go down and just see what you are the most excited about this space. And I believe, John, you're going to be giving out some GPUs later, or maybe Rick Champagne is from
I think Rick's giving
Is
up.
GPUs under all your chairs? You know? Tokens? Tokens?
He's definitely giving them out.
He's got tokens, yeah. But tell me what you're the most excited about in this space, what you're looking forward to that's coming, that you're excited about.
I'm most excited about empowering the individual creator. The evolution of being able to enable bright, creative people who before said, you know, if I just had more people or time, and now have tools and technology where I am seeing amazing stuff by very small teams, that's just blown me away. And I love that creativity. You talk about democratization, to me that's I'm just excited to see what people can do where they're not restrained by being in a large institution or having massive access to capital.
I mean, there's a lot, but I'm on a personal mission to find like an interface where I do not have to use my hands. So anything voice command enabled, anything eye tracking, anything gesture related that gets to communicating with the machine in a human-like manner is interesting to me, and that's what I'm excited for. Multi-modal, just so you say. That's all.
All right,
I'm
everyone
trying
take
to
a
go back.
shot, hold them up.
I know, but that's interesting, right? Because now you can really make it so much more interactive and truly like think about all the imagery, the videos, the text, and how it all comes together and the various voices. So that's my personal mission and something I'm looking forward to. And I think that's something also we're going to see evolve significantly over the year.
Great. Jordan?
Besides being in two places at once in the future, that sounds fantastic. No, I won't take credit for this line I read, but I can't get it out of my head for the last 12 months, and it's that AI is not here to save old working models, it's here to generate new business models. And so I think like mission for myself and for our clients is like how do we use AI to maybe get beyond personalized assets at scale and think about personalized experience, and so I'm eager to deliver on that.
Joanna? That's interesting.
I'm excited for when AI moves from beyond eliciting fear from many people and, I don't know, eliciting expectations that may or may not be where we are from another group of people, and it just becomes part of our workflow and part of what we do. If you think back many years, like digital was kind of like this. I just remember how people talked about digital, and then we worked together probably during that time period, and so it was like only a part of the team did digital, or only these people were the experts in that.
It was the thing.
It was a thing, right? And now it's not. It's just the river we all swim in, and so I'm looking forward to when AI becomes that, and it's something that everyone is able to tap into. One of the beauties of it is it is really easy to use. Like people may be afraid of it and unsure, but it is really easy to use. At home, my partner and I make little short movies all the time. A bunch of them have gotten into film
That
festivals.
is so Joanna Popper, but that's what you do.
That's what we do. Yeah.
Both cats?
Well, there are some cats, but more dogs. More dogs. Because we have a friendship dog who gets to star in a lot of them. And so that's what I'm looking forward to, when people can get past the scary headlines and really make use of the technology in a way that is meaningful for them, and they're able to create things that they can't create otherwise, but also utilize it to make aspects of their life much easier. Jake?
Yeah, so Gen Alpha is the first generation whose number one leisure activity is social gaming. I think this is fascinating. I think going off John's point, it opens up when you think about, okay, if people are spending all this time in Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite, these platforms that they can create themselves, right? They can get their hands on the IP. They're not just playing a game that someone gave to them. Think about the impact that AI can have, generative AI. You can now create a game with no technical skills, right? You can create whatever asset you want. You can play it, other people can play it. And then you think about the AI components of NPCs, of characters in that game. Everyone's experience is fully unique and custom to them in what they say, what they do. So I think if you look at the trends of especially I focus on the youth, so looking at Gen Z and now Gen Alpha, what are they doubling down on? I think it's super fascinating to see, to John's point, they're going to be the creators of where everyone is spending their time in the future. And it's amazing that you don't need to go to school, you don't need technical skills. Your daughter is going to be, an amazing creator, and so forth.
She better make some money. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. What about you? Take us home. Not too much pressure. Bring it home.
Okay, so in conversational AI, in the conversational world, we have been used to the 1-800 number where we call and then we have first problem we have is it says you're not calling at our working hours. Please call tomorrow. Second problem is you're going to be put on hold with the whole music running for ever. So with generative AI coming in and driving conversations, both of these problems will go away, and you're going to get instant results solutions.
So you're looking forward to really solving a core consumer problem right
Yes.
now that's making us all not
Yes.
want to make that phone call, right? Because
Exactly.
I don't know how many of you push off calling that product that you have the problem with because you don't have the time.
I have a Spotify playlist of both.
You're so cool. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have to wrap, but let's have a big hand for our panelists for giving us great insights. And definitely follow them on LinkedIn because there's so much that I'm not getting paid by LinkedIn, but I do think it's great following these guys there because everyone's always posting what they're up to. And again, Rick Champagne sitting in the corner giving out GPUs, ladies and gentlemen, so go over there. That's Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and thank you, Digital Hollywood, for putting yet another great session together. Thanks, everybody.
While we're doing that. Today's session, and thank you for attending. Feedback can be submitted using the CES app on your